Alright, hey, what's going on, guys? So today's video, we're going to just go ahead and take a look at some big leaguers. And what we're focusing on today is their front hip. As we know, the front hip leads the charge. It leads the body down the mound. And so I wanted to just go ahead and take a look at a couple pitchers here, past and present big leaguers. We have an MVP in here, a World Series MVPs. And so we're going to take a look at their front hip in relation to their body as they deliver the baseball. So let's go ahead and look at Kershaw first to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and get my pen tool out here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and draw a line to just show you where his front hip is. So his front hip is right there. And as he's driving down the mound, you can see his front shoulder is behind his hip. His front hip is leading the charge. So let's go ahead and also look at his shoulders in relation to the rest of his body. So we got his shoulders here. Notice how they have sort of a tilt to them. It's almost as if he's leaning back when he pitches. What we want is when our front foot hits the ground, we want our shoulders to balance out and parallel the flat ground. What we do not want is our shoulders to parallel the pitcher's mound. And so when you drive off of your back foot and we drive our front hip to home plate, it is going to put our shoulders in this position. This is okay. So let's not be alarmed with that. Let's go ahead and take a look at another pitcher here. So we've got, let's go ahead and let's go old. Let's go Sandy Koufax. Now Sandy Koufax was kind of on the more exaggerated driving that front hip than other actually more modern pitchers are. So let's go ahead and look at it. So we got his front hip. Now that's a lot. His front hip is completely leading the charge. So his front hip is way ahead of that front shoulder. And now let's go ahead and look at his shoulders and let's see that shoulder tilt. We've got major shoulder tilt. But I guarantee you fast forward this to when his front foot hits the ground, and we've got shoulders that are paralleling the flat ground, not the pitcher's mound, but the flat ground. And when he lands, I guarantee you his front hip is still a little bit in front of his front shoulder. So let's go ahead and look at somebody else here. So we've got, let's look at Steven Strasburg, World Series MVP. So we've got Steven Strasburg here. Now, he's not as crazy as a Sandy Koufax, and he's not even as much as Clayton Kershaw. But you can still see here, though, we've got that front hip is in front of that front shoulder. He throws 98 miles an hour. Now, if his front hip is in front of his front shoulder, I would want to be doing the same thing. So let's go ahead and look at his shoulders here. We've got not as big, not as crazy, but we do have a shoulder tilt here. Oh, he's throwing a changeup. So when his front foot's going to hit the ground, his shoulders are going to be parallel to the flat ground, not the pitcher's mound. And he's driving off of that back foot, and he is driving his front hip to home plate ahead of the shoulders. We want that front hip in front of the shoulders because the hip, as it is the center of the body, that is what directs the ball to home plate. It also, when it's in front of the front shoulder, it's loading up his backside. And what we want is for our backside to be where all the power is generated. And so if we're driving from this back leg here, it is going to push the front hip in front of the rest of the body. Let's go ahead and just look at one more, just so I can totally prove my point here. Let's go ahead and look at Verlander. So we've got Verlander here. Verlander's front hip is quite a bit, actually, in front of his front shoulder. And we've got some major shoulder tilt going on here. And Verlander, yet again, is another one of those high 90s, 98 mile an hour fastball pitchers. And all of these guys that I've showed you, they dominate. And so if they all do this, then that's something that I think you might want to be doing as well, by driving that front hip from the backside, driving that front hip and letting that front hip lead the charge, that front hip driving to home plate and leading the way. I guarantee you guys, if you can start doing this, making sure your front hip is in front of those front shoulders, this is going to go ahead and take your game to that next level. I promise you. Go ahead and take a peek next time you're watching some baseball and just look at pitchers and see how they lead with their front hip to home plate. It is a game changer, my friends.
All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys found this video helpful, please go ahead and leave a thumbs up down below, and please comment and let me know if you learned anything new from this video. A little recommendation is spend 5 minutes trying to look through clips of pitchers and see if you can find the similarities between them. Watch their hip. Watch them lead with their hip to home plate. I'm telling you, if you can lead with your hip to home plate, it is going to completely change your game. Yeah, so go ahead and look up some videos on some pitchers and let me know what you guys find. I'd love to hear back from you guys. Awesome. Thanks.